I'm such a good dog.
People. Isn't that the heads of these unions, the heads of these groups, the ranchers that come out and say, this would destroy us? And for anyone that has still no idea about it, I mean, remember...
Sean Fain's all aboard the Kamala train, dude. Union leaders? Bro, Sean Fain is hardcore pro-Kamala.
Remember COVID, the supply chains were absolutely rocked, and yet it fell on deaf ears in the administration, who said, no, let's still continue to ban gas. We saw what the effects are of a minimal shutter in the supply chain industry. This would be catastrophic.
You know, Tommy, and I think Trump calling it the Maduro economic plan is really strong. I mean, I think Latinos across the country...
So much for Sanji. Thank you for the 2 months.
People who have studied what is happening in Venezuela will really resonate with that.
Exactly, and there are a lot of new Republican voters as well that have fled nations nations like Cuba, and they never want to go back there. And this should be a giant red flag to these people.
It's just like Cuba, Vuvuzela. It's true. Dang, dude. Only 12 days ago, UAW President Sean Fain likes Bashar or Walz for Harris's VP. We were still talking about Bashar 12 days ago. God damn, dude. That is so much. That is too much. That is too long. The world is fast. Anyway.
So news.
UAW president explains decision to hit Trump Musk with labor charges. By the way, just speaking of Sean Fain, she's like, why aren't labor unions coming out and saying that this is going to destroy the country? Meanwhile, Sean Fain's fucking trying to press labor charges on Donald Trump and Elon Musk for worker intimidation when Trump was like, oh, I don't want to say the name of the company, but anyone who strikes you, fire them. It's like, dude, that's so fucking illegal. That's literally illegal. You can't do that. You can't threaten workers by firing them if they strike. That's retaliation. It's fucking so illegal. And the fact that they even laughed about it is illegal because they're fucking business owners. Like, you can't do that. It literally qualifies as worker intimidation. And the UAW president, United Auto Workers president, Sean Fain, literally fucking like communist leader for in comparison to like your average American labor leader in the past.
What was behind the decision to do it so quickly?
Look, because this is the problem in America right now. The rich keep getting richer at the expense of the working class. And people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they sneer at labor law, but they don't care about labor law because they don't care about working class people.
Spit King.
You know, they believe in buying off the system and buying off politicians and being able to have their way with people. And, you know, look, employers need to be held accountable in this country when they break the law. It is a federal right of workers to go on strike.
Having Sean Fain on the Kamala train with Tim Walz as VP is so smart. She's flanked on either side, both on the labor front and on the institutional front, with hardcore anti-corporate labor, like, boomers that are, like, just homegrown American boys that happen to be talking like radical communists when you talk about corporations and the working class. Like, they actually have worker solidarity. They have class consciousness, and they're fighters. It's so good.
And they cannot be fired.
It creates a lot of opportunity for leftist mobilization and organizing under a Kamala Harris presidency. It really, really does. It's the ideal American environment to organize under as a leftist. I hope everyone understands this.
For that. But, you know, people like Donald Trump and Elon Musk, they laugh about firing people because they can care less about people and about their jobs and what they do to their careers.
That's right.
All they care about is the billionaire buddies and taking more wealth. And so this is a which side are you on election. And that's why working class people will vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, because they're one of us. And Donald Trump and Elon Musk represent everything that this nation stands against.
Awesome.
Sean, give me your assessment, the real sense of things on the ground among workers, especially in the UAW. They had a Democratic candidate.
Anyway, that was just a quick diversion. They are pressing anti-union labor charges on them. I don't know what's going to come out of that. Maybe not, but hey, it's cool.
But to go back to what you said about the ranchers and to your point about the farmers, that's who I'm really concerned about here
No,
as
not the
well.
farmers.
Because it's only a short leap from price fixing to the government now telling ranchers.
Well, okay, so it's not even what is. I'm not even worried about what she's talking about. It's what she might say that I'm making up right now that I'm scared of. Like, what do you mean?
And farmers, how much they're going to charge, how much they're going to grow, how many head of livestock.
Donald Trump wants to like eliminate farm subsidies. At least if you were listening to Project 2025, eliminate subsidy dependence. Even still, what Donald Trump has actually like outwardly said and advocated for his anti-Chinese tariffs that hurt farmers more than anybody, especially smaller farmers. So if you actually care about that, like, why are we talking about farms? Because people like to think.
From the dead. Yup, this is Bitan. Yup, Bitan the Ed Arago. Yup, this is HIS clone. Yup, he cloned him twice. Second Bitan gets here in a month.
Second Bitan.
Why did he clone him twice? BCUZ I can. Enjoy Boozy World iPhone pic just got Bitan back 2 weeks ago.
Because this is what people think of when they think of American farmers. They literally think of fucking American Gothic, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, it's the poor farmers. Kamala Harris is going to be hurting the poor farmers by toiling the land. They're out there toiling the land with their wife, and all these taxes are going to hurt the poor farmers. And it's like, bro, farmers are business owners. They're corporate in a lot of cases. Most farmland is owned by corporate, like, farming industry. And when they're actually privately owned, they're not fucking worked by American citizens in a lot of cases. They're usually worked by undocumented citizens that are illegally hired for cheap labor. And then they call ICE when they ask for raises. Or better workplace conditions. Or anything, really. Like, this is the kind of farmers that they're talking about, bro. The guys that own this land that is used for fucking this scam project that J.D. Vance had in the Appalachian Mountains in eastern Kentucky. Like, this is what they're talking about, app harvest. You guys know about this? I was going to make a video about this. It's such a fucking crazy story. This all happened before J.D. Vance even ran for Senate, but he was an investor in this fucking company called App Harvest that was trying to grow agriculture in eastern Kentucky, and it was supposed to be for local jobs. And then they started busing in undocumented workers and Salvadorian undocumented immigrants to fucking work harvesting food, and started fucking phasing out the Americans that were there for fucking cheaper labor and less complaints, because it was like 120 degrees in some of these greenhouses with no fucking water breaks. This is what J.D. Vance was doing before he was in politics, by the way. He was like a fucking co-investor of this company. He was like a main guy. He endorsed it multiple times, and people were leaving in fucking stretchers. Yeah. And then it's just a scam. It's just a fucking Silicon Valley style fucking fraudulent project worked by undocumented exploited workers in unsafe conditions for the highest margin. Tech bro farm, literally, bro. Creepy as fuck. Such a tragic story. And I don't even know if it's fucking, I think they might still be in operation. So anyway, that's the real farmers that these guys are worried about hurting.
They're going to have until the government comes in and really controls every aspect of our food supply. And if we don't have a stable and secure food supply, we don't have anything in this country. And then there's only a short leap till, well, the ranchers and farmers can't do it, so we need to manufacture more of this lab-grown meat, the more fake alternatives.
And here we go. We're just like spiraling. We're spiraling into fear-mongering, which is just like classic Fox News, right? But, you know, it's like, you know, it's a slippery slope into communism fake meat. Like, I don't know, man. Does this work for anyone who's not already voting for Trump?
Harris in the past has also talked about. She's talked about having hamburgers and how we need to reduce climate change and maybe we need to move away from red meat. All these things seem like we're really exaggerating, we're being really fearful, but these are just incremental changes that lead us to this goal, which is socialism and communism. We thought Kamala was running away from her radical policies. Maybe she's not. Maybe she's doubling down on them, and that's what we're going to hear more about today.
Yeah, we'll hear this. We'll also hear 3 million new housing units, reportedly a $6,000 child tax credit. That one stood out to me because this is what J.D. Vance said on Sunday. Listen.
Not communism.
I'd love to see a child tax credit that's $5,000 per child. President Trump has been
she won up them, baby. 6,000
on the record for a long time supporting a bigger child tax.
I said 8. I think that would still be better, but whatever.
Credit. And I think he wanted to apply to all American families.
So J.D. Vance says 5,000 tax credit. Kamala says, okay, let's do 6,000. I mean,
and let's reduce taxes on tips and everything. So we'll see where this continues to go.
Yes. I mean, Kamala took the no tax on tips. What?
Let's reduce taxes on tips and everything. So we'll see where this continues. And let's reduce taxes on tips and everything.
American families.
So J.D. Vance says 5,000 tax credit. Kamala says, okay, let's do 6,000. I mean,
yeah, that's politics, baby. That's smart. Well, what do you want? Her to say a lower number? Why would she say the same number? I told her to go for 8 and she didn't listen.
And let's
imagine. 8,000 bucks to pop a kid out? And these guys want to say there's like a fucking birth rate problem. And yet they're against this. How are you gonna be the fucking like abortion is genocide guys and then be like, how are you gonna pay people to have a kid? Why are you gonna do that? Wait. So stupid.
Let's reduce taxes on tips and everything. So we'll see where this continues to go.
Reduce.
Maybe the next step will be to look at border policy. I don't know. But when we're looking at this in particular issue, the food prices issue,
she shouldn't talk about border policy because it's not a fucking problem. Who cares? Talk about what actually affects Americans instead of these fucking distractions.
See not just the fingerprints of Bernie Sanders, but also Elizabeth Warren. She has been writing about this and advocating since May on this issue. Sending
Elizabeth
a letter
Warren?
to the president, signed by some of the Democrats. Bernie Sanders also signing.
What are we talking about now?
That letter.
Bernie Sanders.
But she pointed in an article from New Data for Progress polling showing that a majority of voters support increasing lawsuits against food producers, creating a new task force to investigate grocery stores and corporate food producers, and regulating slotting fees. So.
What? Why is she laughing? What is funny? Like, that's normal. That's all good. These are all good things. I didn't remove any rewards. Normal people would be happy if their opponents also had the same policy ideas, but not these weirdos. Yeah. If population declines, then we are more valuable as laborers. Billionaires are oppressed with high birth rates because it drives down labor costs. I guess. I mean, when billionaires talk about birth rates, they're talking about white birth rates. They're talking about white replacement. It's just racist. But, I mean, true. There aren't very many people that are born billionaires. 6K is only like 3 months of rent. You shouldn't have to work at all the first year of child raisal. Well, that's why Kamala does believe in paid family leave, I believe. I do think she's pro-paid family leave. Which includes paternal leave as well. That's why it's called family leave.
There's a liberal progressive philosophy behind all of this. They claim they have the numbers to back this up, and it runs pretty deep. So there's an entire force behind some of the ideas that we're likely to hear in the coming days and weeks.
You know, when you're in California driving down I-5, you see empty fields, Central California, which is an agricultural
Hey,
hub.
that's where I'm from.
And you see empty fields upon empty fields.
Yep.
And there are signs up that say, thanks to Congress. It is the government that is the source of all of the negativity that we receive, whether it's on the table or in our pocketbook.
But it's water.
What? Thanks to Congress?
There are signs up that say, thanks to Congress.
Oh, empty fields. Thanks to Congress. I wanted to say thank you. I found your content a very low point. and it's helped me change and grow a lot. Oh, that's nice. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I had to increase some of the inflation because people have been getting so much money because I swear too much. %99% of this Central Valley is just empty fields, literally just dry grass. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is she trying to say that you should, like, build more farms there? Thanks to Congress, it's empty? She's just making that up. Like, that land is still owned by people. They could do whatever they want with it. It's just not developed.
Don't be rude.
It is the government that is the source of all of the negativity that we receive, whether it's on the table or in our pocketbooks.
But it's water there, right? And that's the federal government and the state government of California that shut off the...
Yeah, the Central Valley is a really Republican area, and you'll see a bunch of the smaller farmers that are a little American Gothic coded, but they do still use undocumented labor 100%, the fucking Ammon farmers. You'll see big homemade signs that say, like, Gavin Newsom's taking all our water and dumping it into the ocean. Gavin Newsom and Nancy Pelosi are dumping all our water into the ocean instead of giving it to us, when they literally are responsible for like 90% of California's water usage because they do flood irrigation. They're literally the greediest, most like scumfuck government Andes. I hate them. I hate these fucking farming bozos in the Central Valley that fucking cry about this fake water crisis that's like a mini California culture war of like, our water's getting dumped into the ocean. Like, none of that's fucking happening. It's just fucking bullshit. It's just an excuse because they want to flood their fields because it's the cheapest way to irrigate almond orchards. When you can use drip irrigation, you can. They just don't want to. They just don't want to put it in. It's a fucking lazy, cost-cutting measure, and they're bitching about fucking dumping ocean water or some shit. Like, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's insane. Like, Gavin Newsom is not putting our water in the ocean. It's just a hallucination that California Republicans have made up to, like, villainize Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom, who are already villains in other ways, when they're the, like, biggest wasters of water in California. Literally single-handedly. They're the greediest, cheapest motherfuckers, and they all use undocumented labor. It's fucking gross. They just want to make the most money for the least amount of fucking investment. It's fucking bullshit. It's just baby shit whenever they're whining.
The water to those farmers.
Like, do not cater to these fucking idiots. It's bullshit.
That is the breadbasket of America.
That's right.
I'm sensing a trend. Let's put Ilhan Omar in charge of foreign policy.
I was going to say Central California is a lot like the Midwest because it's just like empty fields. I think it does the same thing to your brain. That's why I relate to people from the Midwest.
Let's see. Let's get Birdie on the economy. I'm sure it'll all work out just fine.
Wake me up when it's over.
Scary. Yeah, exactly.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on
McEnany? Anyway, this is more Bernie than Biden.
Loads of criticism for the vice president's cost capping, price control plan.
Fox News is finally have something to talk about other than just complaining. And they're just like, loads of criticism. They're communist. They're finally having an opportunity to be normal and not respond to attacks on how weird they are. And they just immediately jump to being like, Kamala Harris is a communist. She is doing the Holocaust to farmers now. Like, wow. Yeah. Every little farmer is getting aborted thanks to Kamala Harris. Small farmers, big farmers. It's just happening. General G, thank you for the gifted sub.
Plan.
Thank you.
And this is coming from the right, left, and the center. that left-leaning Washington Post columnist that Jackie mentioned with this, when your opponent calls you communist, maybe you don't propose price controls. It is hard to exaggerate how bad Kamala Harris...
When your opponent calls you communist, maybe don't do communism, which is, you know, price controls are just not communism. It's called regulation. We do it all the time. And it's like, he's already calling her communist. What is he gonna do? Call her double communist? So now if she actually does communism, which she won't, but if she actually did, what the fuck are you gonna do? You're literally just gonna be like, okay, it's communism. You said that when it was not. We can't do what the Soviets did to small farmers because capitalism did that already. True.
This price gouging proposal is. An opinion piece in the New York Post titled, quote, the economic choice in this election is stark. Bigger opportunity or bigger stake? A new Fox polling...
So the New York Times, I'm sorry, the New York Post, not the same thing. The New York Times also did, I think, a subtle anti-Kamala piece. What was it? New York Times. I don't think they liked this economic plan. The New York Times. Yeah, Kamala Harris plans to ban grocery price gouging. What does the evidence say? What do you mean, what does the evidence say? Thanks, New York Times. Yeah, man, totally. Hang on. Here we go. The economic argument over the issue is complicated. Economists have cited a range of forces for pushing up prices in the recovery of from the pandemic recession, including snarled supply chains, a sudden shift in consumer buying patterns, and increased customer demand fueled by stimulus from the government and low rates from the Federal Reserve. What? Most economists say those forces are far more responsible than corporate behavior for the... What? And then it links an article from 2021 talking about a shift in consumer buying patterns. How does that increase the price of anything? What the fuck? Low rates, low interest rates, increased prices? You fucking idiot. What? Increased demand fueled by stimulus from the government. Is he talking about the stimulus checks? Corporate behavior has played a role. Yeah, Biden administration economists have found that corporate behavior has played a role in pushing up grocery costs in recent years. But other factors have played a much larger one. By what? By what factor? What? First of all, what other factors? How much larger? It does... No. That's bullshit. Fuck you, New York Times. So insane. American economists are so fucking brain dead. I'm sorry. They are. The prices of eggs, milk, and other staples, groceries, jumped more than 11% in 2022 and 5% last year. Yeah, it didn't fucking ever go down. Prices for food consumed at home were up by just over 1% in December. Yeah, the rate of increase is slowing. That doesn't mean prices are going down, though. That's still insane. People have to buy eggs every month, at least. When you have, like, a family, sometimes it's every other week. Like, these are things that people have to buy regularly, is my point. Elevated profit margins among large grocery retailers could be contributing to stubbornly high price of food on store shelves. Yeah, could be. What do you mean, could be? It is. Highest level in 2 decades. So, okay, you're telling me that food and beverage stores have increased their margins to the highest point in 2 decades, and it could be contributing to high prices? The highest margins in 20 years, and it could be? I fucking hate economists in America, bro. They're like, well, what about other factors? Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Their highest margins in 20 years. They've just constantly, corporations realize that America doesn't give a fuck, and you can just keep charging more. You charged fucking 65 cents for a Coca-Cola back in 1957 or whatever. Now it's fucking $4, and the government doesn't do shit. They don't care. They do not. You can do whatever you want. What if you want a, 500% return on your margins? That's fine. Do it. Do it on a fucking rental home. Get a 500% return on the fucking mortgage. Do it. Whatever. Who cares? Up in the economy, straight up stimulating it. And by it, let's just say my check. Like, yeah, all other retail, it's still all going up. What do you mean? Look. Witness. It's all going up. Retail still went up too. It went down, but it's still not that good. It's still high. A bout of avian flu caused egg prices to spike. True. Let's look at that instead. Maybe we should actually not do price controls. Maybe they should charge $12, $15 for a carton of eggs. $28 for a carton of eggs? What do you guys think? Come on. They need to charge that or they'll go out of business. For others, price gouging suggests that companies are choosing to produce less. It's not even about that. It's literally just fucking it's just slapping a higher price tag. They don't fucking care. Effectively keeping something in short supply so they can charge more. At least in theory, such a situation should be temporary. What the fuck, dude? The government shouldn't step in and say you're not allowed to do that? Well, they won't do it forever. Yeah, thanks, fucking New York Times economist. That's so awesome, dude. You should totally still keep your job after writing this fucking slop. So anti-intellectual. Not like just because you're an economist doesn't mean you could say shit that doesn't make any fucking sense. New competitors should enter the market and provide products at a price that people can afford. Yeah, should they? You know what? I'm going to start an egg company real quick. Sorry. Let me just start an egg company so I could, the free market will create competitors. What if it doesn't, though? Have you ever heard of a monopoly? To understand exactly what role corporate profits played in the pandemic inflation burst, it's worth revisiting how inflation played out. My God. Russia's war in Ukraine. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind. We make our own food. Russia's war in Ukraine. Yeah, that's why prices went up, guys. No, you're right.
Shows a majority of voters trust former President Trump more than Vice President Harris to handle the economy. Ari Fleischer, Fox.
These are Fox News polls, and sometimes Fox News polls are usually pretty good. Obviously, the hosts take a right-wing slant on actually interpreting them, but other polls have actually put them a lot closer, which is interesting. It's higher than it was with Biden, which is good.
News contributor, former White House press secretary, is here. All right, I understand being intoxicated by all the cheering crowds that she has faced, But is she so overcome with her own sense of awesomeness that she thinks that she can sell food shortages and bare store shelves to the American voter?
Bro, what?
You know, Dagan, when
it's just
people
speculation them saying
liberal,
this, by the way.
This is exactly why. This is what dangerous liberals think they should do. They should use the power of the government to set prices in America.
Yeah.
As opposed to you, me, the private sector setting the price for something we want to buy. If it's too high, we don't buy it. If it's too low, there's too much demand, inflation.
See, what if that thing is something like insulin? It's too high, you don't buy it. What if it's food? What? And also, that's like such a bullshit argument anyway. If it's too high, you don't buy it. American families don't go to the grocery store and are like, you know what, this is too expensive. Let's go to a different grocery store. They just go and they look on the shelf and they're like, shit, that's so expensive. I'm going to have to buy less food. Or I'm going to have to figure out whether or not I'm paying my rent or buying a full amount of groceries for my kids. I grew up feeling like that. And it sucks. Yeah, a lot of people only have one store to even go to. And they don't have, like, the ability to vote with their dollar. Like, that's just not a real thing in America. It's not.
She wants the government to do it. It's never worked anywhere. But it does work in showing you who Kamala Harris is. And she is exactly who she said she was in 2019 when she ran for president. The most left-wing liberal candidate you can imagine. And it's just going to ooze out of her throughout this campaign, even though she tries to run from it and hide it. It's coming out today in her price gouging speech.
The Wall Street Journal editorial board, in a piece titled How the Biden-Harris Economy Left Most Americans Behind, says Harris is promising the same economic policies with a shinier countenance.
What?
Don't expect better results. Ari, based on just this single proposal, and
this is liberal media. So it's Wall Street Journal, it's New York Times. Liberal media is turning on Kamala Harris because she's literally not doing corporate liberal capitalism. It's so funny how easy it is to get liberals to hate you. All you need to do is say you should control prices a little bit. The government should do stuff, and then every liberal's like, every economist in America says that that's illegal and against the Bible. They like die. I hate economists. I hate Wall Street Journal. I hate liberals. They just make shit up because they're all serving corporate interests. Every single one of them.
Jumping off what...
You can't control prices. That's just like Vuvuzela Soviet Russia. It's illegal and a sin.
You said
you can't.
She is further left and more dangerous fiscally and economically and financially to Americans whose wages have declined 4% under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris than Joe Biden himself was.
You know, we've all heard the expression, you get what you pay for. And, of course, that makes sense. It's called life. What Joe Biden and Kamala Harris now on steroids want to do is allow you to get what you don't pay for. She's going to forgive even more student loan debt today. She's going to announce it.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, guys. People hate that. Totally. Keep saying that. Keep talking about how much you hate student loan forgiveness. That's so awesome. People like that. No, yeah, sick.
$25,000 credit for home buying. She's going to just give away money that the government doesn't have in an attempt to win votes. But it backfires. That's the problem with it. This is a definitional...
That's also called good politics, by the way. If you do something and announce a policy and then people vote for you, that's a good policy. That's how politics works? I'm sorry. Yeah, what do you mean win votes? You mean win the election. That's why she's... you know, polling well. Why is he a different shade from the eyes up? I believe he probably wears a hat outside.
issue of who she is. This reinforces everything about her being on the far left side of the spectrum, away from free markets and more for government control of the spending decisions we make while giving people things for free. And we all know there's no such thing as for free.
Like, the corporate economists, the corporate liberals are freaking out because they know who's going to foot the bill for this. They know where that 25K is coming from. And it's not from working class people. It's not. They know where that 6K a month child tax credit's coming from. They want to take that from Amazon. They want to take that from corporations that don't pay taxes, like Walmart. He's saying there's no such thing as free because he's protecting his fat cats that pay him and his buddies he plays golf with. The same people Trump wants to give a $5 trillion tax cut to. $5.5 trillion, excuse me. $500 billion is still, what? 500, no. Yeah. $500 billion? Still, I mean, it's, you know, the GDP of, like, an entire European country, at least. Just give that away to corporations and the wealthy. Anyway. I wish you would make religious institutions pay taxes, but that would not go over well with voters. Yeah, it would... I don't know, actually. I think it would go okay. I think it'd be fine, to be honest. Fox News would freak out about it. Evangelicals would hate it.
But the proposal she'll announce today about even more student loan debt. All that does is make blue-collar workers who didn't go to college pay the bills for people who do go to college. And
yeah, they're like, no, they're taking it away from you. Mormons would hate it? Yeah, of course.
Don't want to pay their own bills. It's just wrong. Who would raise a child to think that that's how you're supposed to live in life? This is what liberals do. This is what big government people do. This is who Kamala Harris is showing herself to be.
Wow. Well, and pardon this expression, it's a middle finger to the roughly 85% of Americans who have no student loan debt, no college debt at all. And that's what's again, it's a handout to the people who don't need it, and you're burdening people who did not get that opportunity.
It's unburdening people who are burdened. What do you mean? People who don't have student debt they're gonna feel so bad. And it's, what do you mean, dude? They don't have student debt. They should be grateful that they don't have student debt. It's like saying expunging a criminal record for weed makes people who aren't in jail sad. Why aren't you helping the people who aren't in jail who smoke weed? You're only expunging the records of people who were convicted for weed possession? What do you mean? I want the government to be nice to me too. Like, what? Yeah, it would increase everyone's taxes by $25,000. It would. It's like, no, it's not how it works at all. Student debt relief doesn't cost taxes? Not necessarily. Because their loans the federal government gave, so they could just be like, never mind. Literally. That's why the president can literally do it single-handedly. That's why they can't forgive private loans that you take. Like, I took a private loan, and I still pay that. But the federal loans would be forgiven.
Opportunity or paid their own way. I want to get to this. This is one headline. Kamala Harris seeks to unburden herself of the Biden record.
Hell yeah. Unburdened. What is it? What can be unburdened by what has been. Let's fucking go. The accountants of the Mormon cult have said themselves that if it was known all their financial practices, they would no longer be legally recognized as a religious institution. They have more than $100 billion stockpile just hoarded. Dude, I want to raid like a Mormon temple, like it's a Tomb Raider dungeon or something, like a Egyptian pyramid with a sarcophagus in it. They probably have like there's probably treasure somewhere. Yeah, like Uncharted style. They probably have like cool fucking ancient artifacts and shit. Dude, the Mormon church probably has like they probably have some fucking crazy. I'm sure they have like ancient indigenous shit that they should not have, without a doubt. Because they, like, I wanted to do a video essay about this, and I want to travel the same paths and kind of like document and hopefully talk to people about it. There's a stretch of land called Zion
That shit
in
looks
Utah.
like at the end of national treasure for sure.
That's Freemasons? Well, them too, but Mormons, like we hear the term Zionist and Zionism now in the context of Israel-Palestine, but in the very same way, in the very same biblical justification, Mormons annexed the Salt Lake, among many other areas in Utah, and genocided the people there in the name of Zionism, Mormon Zionism. And this is old American history. This is not even like, this is ancient in comparison to the kind of Zionism that we're talking about in Israel-Palestine, right? Indigenous Americans, yeah. They did the same kind of genocide, just careless, cruel, barbaric. It's not even that old. No, I know. I'm just talking in comparison, because when you say Israeli Zionism, you're talking about the 50s and 60s in its origins. But I'm talking about like the 1800s, a even more barbaric time for America. You know what I mean? They had to move west several times because people didn't like them setting up in their towns. Yeah, and they went so far west that they massacred indigenous people to make land for themselves. The Mountain Meadows Massacre wasn't even indigenous people. It was a total slaughter of white pioneers. Yeah, they killed a lot of people. They killed a lot of people. Like, the Mormon journey west was not a peaceful one. And I think going to the places in Utah and kind of talking about the history of it, I think would be really cool for like a long form video. I mean, they literally believed in the construction of a new Jerusalem in America. That was the whole point of like Zion. That was what it was called. They think the U.S. is Holy Land, yeah. Like the path that they took, I would really like to follow, like the main path that they took west, and talk about all the indigenous people that they encountered and what they did to them. Because it's the same settler terrorism, same settler colonialism that happens in the West Bank right now. Yeah, the Mormon pioneers. Were like genociders. And there's so much lore. It's just like completely unaccounted for American history that is not taught in school. You get taught like a little bit, like, oh, Mormons went west and they found Salt Lake City. That's the most you get. When it is a genocidal chapter of American history that paved the way for America to just move west. They did it. They just settled. the most like I mean, Mormons believed in like a lower race of people toned dark by God. Like, and they used that to justify just killing them because they didn't view them as human beings. The most like concise Wikipedia page I can find on it, and obviously it's like the research doesn't start and end there, but it's just one example is the Black Hawk War. Yeah, the Lamanites. And every dark-skinned person is a descendant of a Lamanite. The name of 150 battles, skirmishes, raids, and military entanglements taking place from 1865 to 1872, primarily between Mormon settlers in Sanpete County, Sevier County, and other parts of central and southern Utah, and members of 16 Ute, Southern Paiute, Apache, and Navajo tribes. 16 tribes, chat. Led by a local Ute war chief, Atonga Blackhawk, the conflict resulted in the abandonment of some settlements and hindered Mormon expansion in the region. The years of 1865 to 1867 were by far the most intense of the conflict, though intermittent conflict occurred until federal troops intervened in 1872. The Utah Territory spent $1.5 million on the war, equivalent to $34.34 million in 2023, and later requested reimbursement from the United States government. And I'm sure they got it. To pay for... Sorry, what? Indian depredations? And expenses incurred in suppressing Indian hostiles. God, America is so disgusting. Definitive causes for the Black Hawk War are unknown. Lack of written history at the time makes the determination of cause and effect difficult. However, stories and opinions passed down by word of mouth from the side of Native Americans and the side of the settlers give insight into the state of affairs at the time leading up to the conflict. Like, I want to go to where these events happened, because again, 16 tribes, and I want to find if there are any word of mouth, indigenous people that know the story by word of mouth, that can relate, because I don't... Why would you ever trust the fucking settler version? Are you serious? The settlers shouldn't have even been there. Much less been killing people. God damn. I'm sure there's abandoned settlements that you can go to as well. I wonder if there's any ghost towns. Stories and opinions passed down by word of mouth from the side of Native Americans and the side of settlers give insight into the state of affairs. It seems both the Ute and settler apologetics agree that the war was not started by one singular event, but by a series of events. Both parties wanted the land. Well, yeah, the people that were living there did probably fucking want it. I hate that. I hate that, dude. Both parties wanted the land. Fuck you. That's exactly how Israel-Palestine is described. Have you noticed that yet? They both want it. No one really knows. Maybe it's religious differences. But by the time the war started, each side likely believed that both cultures could no longer live together peacefully. I mean, the Mormons ideologically don't believe that. They were literally revising their fucking lore at this time, being like, well, yeah, actually, dark-skinned people are evil. Like, this is around the time they were making up the fucking Lamanite shit. They tried to live in harmony since about 1849 when Mormon pioneers settled in Manti. Ugh. And joined the Sandpits tribe in the Sanpete Valley. They joined it? Sandpitch? However, within a few years of 1849, there were sporadic acts of aggression on both sides leading up to the war. In 1865, Jake Arapine and John Lowry Jr. The Jake Arapine and John Lowry Jr. incident in Manti marked the official beginning of the open warfare between the natives and the settlers. John A. Peterson describes his point of view at the time. Latter-day Saints considered themselves in a state of open warfare. They built scores of forts, such as Wilden Fort, and deserted dozens of settlements while hundreds of Mormon militiamen chased their elusive adversaries through the wilderness with little success. Requests for federal troops went unheeded for 8 years, unable to distinguish differences between tribesmen. Frustrated Mormons indiscriminately killed Indians, including women and children. Frustrated. This is what settlers do in the West Bank, by the way. Same shit. Same shit. Can't tell the difference. I don't know who's Hamas. I don't know. Gotta kill women and children about it. Ever since Mormon pioneers fled into Utah Valley in 1848 and built their fort at Provo, the Timpanogos Ute bands had been pushed aside by settlers' demands for grazing land and farmland. Same fucking shit as the West Bank, too, by the way. Frustrations on both sides led to several short battles. At the Battle at Fort Utah in 1850, the Walker War in 1853 to 1854. Okay, these are great. These are great sources for preambles to this. And the Tintic War in 1856. Mormon leaders persuaded the Ute leaders to stop hostilities when the losses occurred by the Utes were compensated with food, presents, and promises of future friendship. Americans love doing this fucking fake shit. That's the only difference. Israel doesn't even pretend to like any kind of Palestinian representation. They don't do the food, presents, and promises of future friendship to Palestinians. Utes had survived with geography and the harsh climate of Utah for centuries, but white settlement destroyed this. Ute bands in Utah's, I wonder, Utah must be named after the Ute. In Utah's central valleys were pushed out of traditional hunting and foraging areas by Mormon towns, farms, and livestock. They were literally destroying their land, man. Resulting in some Ute bands starving. Cattle or horses put out to graze by the settlers were occasionally taken as kind of rent payment for the settlers' use of land where Utes had lived for centuries. During the Black Hawk War, Chief Black Hawk and allies made a business out of taking thousands of heads of livestock, transporting them out of Utah territory, and selling them or trading them for goods and money with brokers. Some suggest Black Hawk believed that the loss of livestock was the quickest way to intervene with the growth of settlements. Troubles that arose between Mormons and Utes resulted from culture clashes. Settlers refused to accept the Native American culture and also were starving them to death and indiscriminately killing women and children. Culture clash. And Native Americans rejected the settlers' colonized culture of property rights. Yeah. What do you mean? That's not a... Culture clash. Native American culture included sharing of cattle, while the settlers' culture involved the buying and selling of land. Their land that they didn't own. What coexistence and compromise seemed unattainable. I hate Wikipedia, bro. It seemed unattainable. Maybe because, stealing was happening. You're just describing Israel-Palestine? Well, and then there's the same reasons. It doesn't go into the ideological reasons. This is more specifically about the actual material reasons behind the war, or the accounts. God, the Mormon churches are always so creepy, bro. They're pure white. I know there's an ex-Mormon subreddit. Monument to remember the first settlers killed by natives. Oh, wait. Sorry. Settler. That's not what it says. Johnny Warner. First white men. Oh, and William whatever. First white men. That's not... It doesn't say settler. What do you mean? Sorry. Rotting in hell. They're physical places to go to, including old forts. And I think it would make a really cool video. And this is just decades of war and genocide. And eventually, the story repeats itself in a lot of ways, where eventually the American military, like the federal government, gets involved. Might take a while, but eventually America's like, hey, these Mormons are doing a pretty good job so far. And they're white as fuck. And inbred as fuck. We might not like them near us, but they've done a pretty good favor for us, so why don't we just give them Utah? They can have all that. It's nice and empty. And their Zion became permanent. There's a lot of history there that I still need to learn, but knowing that it's there is the first step, I guess. So maybe I can make that. I would really like to make that. I'm traveling back west. I don't know when, next month, I guess. So if I could have a script done by then, I could try to make it then. I don't know if it would be easier to do it then or to wait until I was going to go back and then take my time. It might be easier to actually wait. It doesn't matter when I would film it. When it comes out is a different question, because it would require a lot of... I might even have to just stay in Utah for a little bit, to be honest, because I'm going to have to contact... I want to try to contact some tribal leaders. I want to talk to historians. I want to talk to, you know, people that have a lot of expertise on it. Maybe I'll try to talk to some Mormons, maybe some people on the street. If I go to these forts, I can talk about, like, if people know about, like, the actual history. Okay, I like that. I've had the idea for a while. I had the idea driving through Utah, and I was like, man, why do I see Zion everywhere? So I'll keep the pedal on the metal for that one. I'll try to draft something up later. Oh no, I spilled. And then I go into the Mormon vaults and steal $100 million or whatever, and the Constitution or whatever they have in there. I steal the frozen head of Joseph Smith and his special goggles that let him see the tablets or whatever.
Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary says that would be in her best interest. Listen to this.
Oh, Shark Tank,
the strategy is just bash big business, bash energy, bash pharma, bash ag, bash everything. Then she...
What do you mean? Bash big pharma? They're being too mean to Big Pharma right now.
She's a leftist again. She can't win the election. So my prediction is, and we'll know more next week after the convention, she has to get rid of Biden. I mean, I understand the heritage thing and everything, but she's got to distance herself from Bidenomics. That is radioactive waste for voters. So
yeah, I can do more street interview stuff. I like interviewing people. I had the idea to do this thing for like TikTok and just like short form content called $5, 5 questions, where I ask random people like 5 questions and then I give them $5. And like the questions don't necessarily have anything to do with anything. It could just be any question. And then I just find like, I don't know, I'll ask people like what they did this morning. What's their job? Who's their dad? Where were you on 9/11? Yeah, you'll never know what you'll get. I thought it was like trivia. What's like trivia about their lives? Do you have games on your phone? Yeah, can I see your phone? I haven't done fan art recently. I can do it tonight. If you want to post fan art, there's a Discord for it. You can post it in the Discord channel. I'll review it before I get off stream tonight. Yup. Yeah, did you do it?
She doesn't bring some daylight in and go to the center, she'll just lose.
There's no indication she'll do that, and she can't do that because her jumping off point is Bidenomics to Kamalanomics.
I thought it was interesting that President Biden said she won't do that.
You guys are you're gonna run with that?
Is Bidenomics to Kamalanomics.
You're running with that? I don't know if that's gonna work.
I thought it was interesting that President Biden said she won't do that. But look, here's what we do know about Kamala Harris. She's distanced herself from herself. She has distanced herself from all the positions she took in 2019 and 20 about having single payer, Medicare for all, no private insurance, confiscate your guns, no fracking. Virtually every position she's taken, she has now distanced herself from herself. Well, she also distanced herself from her boss. So what does it tell you about the character of somebody who distances themselves from their boss, distances themselves from themselves? You know, you can tell when Kamala Harris is announcing a policy that she'll quickly abandon when she says, day one, or she says, no question.
What did Trump say he wanted to do on day one? Be a dictator just for day one? Which is always how it works. I think Julius Caesar said that same thing.
When she answers with those words, she's about to abandon the policy she was just for. And it's because other than being such a left-wing...
Sorry, he also said drill, baby, drill. Which this guy probably thinks is awesome and will decrease rent and decrease grocery prices.
Progressive when she can get away with it, the only thing she's interested in is winning. And so is the Democrat base. They'll forgive her for not having any firm stands. But I'm not sure that's going to work with independents, and it's also part of the job of the Trump campaign. They've got to be the ones who illustrate all these changes of position, flip-flops, and her lack of character to be able to distance herself from her boss and from herself.
Moving on to this, Ari, right now, Judge Juan Merchan is weighing former President Trump's legal team's request that he delay sentencing.
God, Trump looks like shit, man. I'm going to be honest.
34 guilty counts until after the election. Trump's lawyers say that the September 18th date shows, quote, naked election interference objectives. Judge Merchan is also expected...
I like the panels. Sentencing, immunity decision, election day. Look how close these squares are that have the dates on them. It's still like 2 months before the election. Like, what do you mean? It's been delayed over and over again.
16th, whether or not to toss Trump's guilty verdict after the Supreme Court's decision
naked election
on the president have some immunity for official acts. Trump yesterday tore into what many call the lawfare against him.
They want to put me in prison, you know, just so you understand. You know, they tell me
awesome.
I should be nice. They want to put me in prison. It's never happened before in the history of our country. I did nothing wrong. I had crooked judges.
You can't even get a sentence out.
I
did nothing wrong.
They're all Democrats.
Merchan has denied 3 requests from Trump's lawyers to recuse himself over his daughter's work with the Democrat Party. Sean Duffy with me yesterday.
He should remove himself from the case. But again, if that happens, Dagan, you might
now
get
they're just whining about Trump's election,
judge.
which doesn't work.
Sean can't let that
Trump's
happen.
election, Trump's other cases. It doesn't work. Who cares? No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. How are you going to lower the price of groceries? How are you saying lowering the price of groceries is communism? And feel bad for Donald Trump now? Like that's what do you mean? Why is this the fucking counter messaging?
He has a political vendetta against Donald Trump. So he wants to keep this case so he can extract some pain from President Trump, not because of the law, not because of what Donald Trump did, but because of politics. That's
you
what this
can't
is
say
all
that
about.
when he did break the law.
The three
though.
other criminal cases against former President Trump are all stalled right now with almost no chance of significant progress before the election. Ari, how do you see this playing out with Judge Merchan?
Yeah, Dagan, it's fascinating because I think a lot of Americans thought that this had come and gone.
I don't think people feel bad for Donald Trump. I just don't think, like, Trump supporters might, but I don't think your average voter feels bad for him. I think they view his, getting his mugshot taken, having to be in court. I think they see that as justified. I really do.
These legal cases peaked in the summer, and now we're going to go back to what American democracy is supposed to be, which is two candidates duking it out and leaving it to the people. And all of a sudden now we're reminded, oh yeah, possible sentencing. I've always braced myself for President Trump getting sentenced to prison.
It's such emotional, like, I've always embraced myself for Donald Trump going to prison. I always knew it could happen. Yeah, because he's a fucking criminal.
Spotlight on migrant crime as immigration is a top issue for voters.
What the fuck? Illegal immigrant arrests this week? Bro, what the fuck is Fox News doing?
He's arrested at least 6 illegal migrants accused of heinous, violent crimes just this week. One of them, a Peruvian gang leader, wanted for 23 murders.
Bro, Harris Faulkner can't get her fucking sentences out. What is going on? A gang leader.
Also, a Haitian migrant who allegedly raped a pregnant woman
Jesus
at a migrant
Christ,
shelter
dude.
in Massachusetts.
Yeah, notice how there's fucking 6 when Donald Trump is like, there's 20 billion immigrants in this country, and there's 6 of them that have done any crimes. Have you noticed that? God. Drunk.
Voters think that the situation at the southern border is an emergency. 43% say it's a major problem. In 2021,
Oh, dude, that's so stupid. Just shut the fuck up. It's fake. It's fake. It's media generated. It's so disgusting.
President Biden assigned Kamala Harris to lead White House efforts to address migration challenges. GOP lawmakers say she did the opposite.
Kamala Harris has her fingerprints on all the destruction that we've seen. She voted against Title 42 when she was in the Senate, and she was the border czar and has done nothing to quell, again, the invasion that we've seen on our southern border.
Okay, border.
Peter Doocy is at the White House with much more.
That's all they have.
Peter.
Dagan, the vice president is still in charge of the root causes of migration to the southern border, so she does.
Right after the fucking economic policy reveal, and they're just immediately talking about the border again.
On paper, still have some skin in the game when a Peruvian guy wanted for 23 murders back home crosses the southern border, gets arrested, but then released for more than 3 months. ICE just picked this man, Gianfranco Torres Navarro, from a gang in Peru called Los Killers, up in upstate New York.
Where has she been? And why hasn't she done it? Why hasn't she done it?
Just
I hear her
weird.
complaining all the time.
Weird shit.
She was the border czar, but she didn't do anything. It's the worst border czar in history.
Like, they arrested him. What do you want? They got him. This just in. Criminal arrested. Is that news? This just in. Fork in kitchen. Like, what the fuck? Okay? What?
White House officials are not breaking through very effectively with their argument that the border is just a problem because Trump recently worked to tank a bipartisan deal. 71% of voters in a new Fox poll say Biden's lack of enforcement is to blame for the southern border's problems, and expect the VP to highlight her time before she was in charge of the root causes on the trail.
So I was Attorney General of a border state. I went after the transnational gangs, the drug cartels, and human traffickers. I prosecuted them in case after case, and I won.
That was then. This is now. She will be in Battleground, North Carolina later.
Wait, so okay, yeah. Why don't you prosecute the one why don't you prosecute this one from Los Killers? I found an immigrant that you haven't prosecuted. Guess what? Sounds like that doesn't work.
President Biden is going to be in Battleground, Pennsylvania later on this afternoon, but officials have not told us what exactly he's going to be doing in Philadelphia before heading to Camp David for the weekend. Dagan.
What?
Right. What's going on? What are you in Philly for?
Yeah, what is going on?
Other than
we'll
cheesesteaks, maybe. Peter Ducey,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Great to see you.
Great. Thanks, Peter Ducey. You totally look like a normal guy and not like a slug in a suit. Thank you. We watched yesterday the interview between the sit down with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and it was cute. I think it was fine.
Shit.
But you know, of course, Fox and Friends, not a big fan.
Talk to the
Brian Kilme has something to say.
The press. Why isn't she giving this sit-down interview to some agency, to some news agency?
It's not like she's campaigning or anything.
And we want to hear more about her policies. If you go to her website, there's nothing on.
I agree. She should do an interview. She said she would do one before the end of the month. As I've said, it's inevitable that she will. Like, what do you mean? I'm sorry. You can't just keep saying this.
There. Apparently, she's rolling out this economic policy today. People are curious about what she stands for, even though we know her voting record. But she hasn't sat down in 26 days. But she did release a video of Tim Walz.
Oh, so there is an interview.
They're interviewing each other.
Oh, fantastic.
Watch a little clip of this.
I have white guy tacos and
what is
like
that,
black,
like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
The shame in his voice. Ground beef and cheese.
No. They said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota.
Black pepper?
What? Yeah. What? Oh God, this sucks. Didn't Ben Shapiro say this was like racist or something? He was like, "You're being racist to white people." What did he say? Oh shit. Sorry. Banger from Denzel Curry. My Hero Academia is trash. That's my opinion. That's awesome. What a good tweet. Zeltron, goated. Ben tweets too much. I can't find him talking about how this is racist. He literally, okay.
See, folks, it's funny that white people hate spices. Not racist at all. Just funny. Fact check. Europeans like spice so much, they literally got involved in several hundred years of war in order to turn the control of the spice trade.
Yeah, and they didn't use that shit. That's just capitalism. That's just fucking moving capital back and forth. That has nothing to do with food, you bitch. The most spice like dense foods were not like empires. or are not like descending from cultures that were empires, you know what I mean? Look at America. You get homogenized fucking slop. That's what you get from imperialism. That's what happens when you have no fucking community. And capitalism determines the, you know, health of your food.
He got approved for that art market Stalintown. For my community, he mentioned it a couple months ago for building my local artist class, but it's finally finalized. This is epic. Brian Kilme is Gunny Funny.
Congratulations, Mika, for getting accepted into your art market stall.
Not racist at all.
I can't believe he actually said this is racist. He almost got ratioed too. Almost 2K to 3.7K, man. And this is, I mean, it's because he did it wrong. He did it wrong. He's like, you know, you can't be racist to white people. Matt Walsh did it right, getting almost 10K with a little over 2K replies. Crazy that a presidential candidate could just casually let out some blatant anti-white racism and nobody cares. Imagine if Donald Trump said that a black guy taco was made with fried chicken and watermelon. Nuclear meltdown. Even though he said beef and cheese and pepper. Very different from what Matt Walsh said. He literally said, I'm about to get racist with it. Hang on. Hold my non-woke beer. Hold my normal beer. New norm. I'm about to get super racist. That's how you get likes on Twitter. Just say like the most racist thing you can think and be like, dude, this is just like what Tim Walz is doing to me as a white man. And so Fox News is kind of doing the same thing.
Well, but why is Kamala an expert on tacos? Why? I mean,
What? She didn't say.
That's your takeaway? I ain't going
yeah, I mean, like.
Oh, God. Even Brian Kilme's like, what?
She's dunking on him about tacos?
Yeah. Right.
What is she? I mean, I don't understand her
Will is
expertise
so
on tacos.
He's the one who brought up tacos. She just asked what he put in them. What?
For some unscripted moments.
And then she went with, what? He's white. Did she say white guy tacos or tuna?
He
and
did.
mayonnaise?
That wasn't the worst.
God, they wish she said that. They wish she said that. Then Fox News would be like, she's being racist to white people.
White guy tacos.
And then she said, what is that? Tuna and mayonnaise?
Tuna and mayonnaise, yeah.
No, that's racist. That's racist. Tuna and mayonnaise.
Really get to what album she really likes and why. She just says all of it.
They talked about music. He says he's Bruce Springsteen. She said Aretha and Miles, and she gave a few. Yeah, then they talked about.
See, it made a little more sense when Kamala Harris was using their first name, but when she uses the first names of Aretha Franklin and Miles Davis, I'm pretty sure that she just doesn't know who she's actually talking about. She doesn't know the full name. She doesn't know.
Cars. He owned an orange Chevy Camaro. That was his first car with an 8-track. And so it was just we learned nothing.
First of all, you can't say, I mean, the producer's like, no issues. Yeah, I'm going to get to the issue.
No issues.
But it's also, it doesn't make any sense. You don't say Aretha Franklin and say all of them. You don't put the greatest or Miles Davis and say, yeah, all of the artists as well. It's like they're the greatest for a reason. But again, even when she has just simple human moments where she should be able to go back and forth.
She's not natural.
She's just terrible,
Everyone on
man.
social media.
Yeah, dude. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are actually way more natural. For sure.
Was saying this was fake, this was scripted, this was phony, and they said you can't do interviews, so you have to talk to each other.
They want to create chemistry. These two were born to run together.
Can I just confess, though?
She was like, you would have been my friend if we grew up in the same neighborhood. I'm like, no, y'all probably would not have been.
From a political
she was in she grew up in Canada anyway.
I get why they're not putting her out. Like from a strictly, if you don't care about the press holding people accountable, like keep her away from the cameras.
Have you ever seen all the stuff about LeBron James carrying books out and posting press
and it's always on the first page.
It's always on the first page, and then you ask LeBron, "What's your favorite part?" And he's like, "All the parts."
All of it.
All the parts.
You can't do that.
Is that what she's doing with like who your favorite music is?
Yeah, people hate LeBron James too, so she'll totally lose.
She just really doesn't know.
All of them.
It's just an image thing.
Right. Well, if she didn't have any that were favorites, that would be weird.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to be
Don't
weird.
say weird. That's apparently the Trump campaign.
And it's the Portland and Austin slogan.
Yeah.
Keep Portland weird, keep Austin weird.
Yeah.
So I just thought that whole weird thing.
It's
I don't
weird.
get. I don't get it.
Me neither.
Right. Because
Brian Kilmeade is like 58 years old. He doesn't get a lot of things.
Thought, especially that party, the nose rings, the purple hair, the pink, excuse me, pink hair. I thought you were supposed to accept everything.
Right.
Excuse and all of a sudden, it's like, I don't like this guy because Ron Howard did a movie on his life, and his book was a bestseller for 3 years.
He's weird because he's wearing a navy suit.
Right.
No purple
so
hair.
Weird. Yeah.
No tongue piercings. Right.
First of all, J.D. Vance wore a purple suit, and that was weird as fuck. Purple hair, more like purple suit.
When normal is weird again.
Also, who has purple hair? Tim Walz has no hair. Kamala has brown hair. Who has blue hair right now? What are we talking about? Why are they hallucinating someone with blue hair?
That should be our slogan.
Maybe we'll change it.
Right.
All right.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And
I'm Brian Kilmeade. Subliminal messaging. All right, let's see. CNN.
Been watching Vice President Kamala Harris.
I don't imagine CNN's super ecstatic about the economic plan for the same reasons the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times are not.
Wrapping up her first major policy speech in North Carolina. She's now working the rope line, shaking hands with folks as she laid out new details on her economic agenda. She touted the Biden administration's work bringing the economy back from the COVID pandemic.
She said she wants to build what she's calling an opportunity economy, with bringing down costs of living as her top priority as president. And that includes her proposal to ban federal price gouging on groceries, lowering the cost of insulin and prescription drugs, and taking down barriers for home ownership.
That's right.
We have CNN's Eva McKind in Raleigh for us. Eva was there for this speech. How's it being received, Eva?
Oh, Jess, it's being received very well by this crowd. It is a smaller crowd than her typical campaign rally, and these are invited guests from the community. But the vice president basically outlined two very different visions for America. This was the first time that we heard her give a concrete policy address. But it was also significant because you could see she was really intentional about trying to connect with everyday Americans. She says that she knows what it's like when the prices add up for clothes, for food, for groceries, for everyday living expenses. She talked about working at McDonald's as a young person in college and then seeing some of her coworkers at that time trying to make that salary work while raising a family. So here are the actual concrete policies that she laid out. A federal ban on price gouging for food. She pledged to build 3 million new affordable homes that she underscored would in fact go to the working class. And perhaps the loudest applause line came when she talked about helping first-time home buyers, $25,000 for first-time home buyers. You saw people get up on their feet and just applaud loudly. That was something that is very well received. And no doubt, Jess and Boris, that is something that I repeatedly hear on the campaign trail. So many people worried about the ability to buy a house and the ability to afford rent. And so this economic vision is really speaking to the needs of everyday Americans. Republicans are characterizing it as just a wish list.
Price gouging? What price gouging has happened? What do you mean? The prices of groceries on average have like tripled since 2020. And they steadily increased since before then. But all food, basically, gas, housing, that's the market. Yeah, the market needs to be regulated. That's exactly her point. The free market only serves the rich because the rich control it. That's, you know, it's not free. It's just, yeah, it's just the oligopolic capitalist American market.
They are, in fact, policies that would require working with Congress and are very difficult to get over the finish line. But at least now...
but that's not price gouging? Yes, it is. Yeah, no. Unregulated capitalism is pure price gouging. It's just, well, what's the maximum margin you could possibly get right now in the short term, and how do you increase that margin over time? Whether it's mass layoffs, AI, Whatever you can do, by any means, increase margins. That's what the market naturally does in America. And it's incumbent on the government to protect the population of people in America from that, privatizing force. It's an active rot.
Jess and Boris, we have a vision, a concrete policy vision for what a Harris presidency would bring.
Eva McCann live for us in Raleigh. The question now becomes, how will voters absorb this vision of the economy? Let's discuss with our panel, Amisha Cross, Matt Gorman,
people
Jeff
like
Zeleny,
this.
and Julia Chatterley.
People like this, I think.
Is with us as well. Jeff, on the politics of this, there were two things that really struck out to me with this speech, and I think they were pretty obvious and deliberate. On the issue of tariffs, which Donald Trump has sort of made his namesake going back to his first run for the White House. Kamala Harris here describing it as a Trump tax on imports, essentially saying that Donald Trump wants to tax consumers. And the second thing, she's spent this speech contrasting herself with Donald Trump. And I think that the most clear contrast was the fact that yesterday Donald Trump is giving a press conference outside of his private golf club. And then you have the vice president here talking about how excited she was to see her mom save up for 10 years to buy a house. And then how she worked at McDonald's to put herself through college and watch people around her struggle to make ends meet, work multiple jobs to do that. So it gives a sense of legitimacy to this populist argument that she's trying to make.
I mean, the contrast in every respect could not have been more clear. In terms of the Trump tariff, she really broke it down. She said it's a tax on gas, a Trump tax on food. So what this is doing by having her finally give a policy speech, it's shining a broader light on his policies, and there are gaps in both of them, no doubt about it. One thing she did not say is how any of this would be paid for. Of course, that is not uncommon in a presidential campaign. This is an aspirational level. He never says how he would pay for his plans either. But what I did think, and this is the point of it obviously, is to draw a contrast obviously with him, but on the middle class, and help explain herself. She still is not introduced that well to the American people. She's been in the public eye, she's been vice president, but allowing her to sprinkle in her biography I thought was so interesting, and we are going to hear more of that at the convention next week. The housing crisis. I hear it constantly as I travel around the country talking to voters. You may ask, why didn't the Biden administration do more on this? It's a good thing to ask. They've done some, but she's focusing on that with a specific of $25,000. That would be certainly not paid for, but that is something that voters can get their minds around. So I think drawing a sharp contrast here is exactly what she wants to be doing. The details, they don't quite all add up, but again, we don't know the makeup of Congress, and they don't add up for either side. I mean, a campaign is about sort of laying out your vision, and she's starting to do that.
Yeah, it's about...
What is this? Yeah, this is epic. You're right. You're right. So, listen, the long and short of it is, corporate liberals don't love this. Fox News has really no, argument about it. It's, really pathetic how they're trying to, it's communism is all they have, really.
Secret video captured.
But listen, I think, we'll see in the next couple of days how people respond to it, but it's going to be popular. I don't see it not being. Secret video. See what Trump ally said about Project 2025. This is 10 hours ago. The Project 2025 saga is not done. It is going to continue. There was a huge leak of the actual training protocols that they're giving to potential political appointees. But now we have some leaked footage. I mean, dude, Project 2025 got to be the sloppiest takeover of American government I've ever seen. They literally keep leaking Like,
on hidden camera of one of the architects of Project 2025. He is also the policy director of the RNC team that rewrote the party's official platform.
yeah. So these are like already people that have intruded into the government. It's not like, it's not fringe.
In this secret video obtained by CNN, the RNC operative talks about his controversial conservative blueprint for a second Trump term, and
Goddamn.
that Trump's disavowal of Project 2025 is just politics.
Holy shit, this is insane. This is the second time this has happened. The second time. The head of the head of the Heritage Foundation had a leaked phone call where he said the exact same thing. He's like, we know he's just maneuvering, but we know he has our we know he supports us. It's the same shit. Holy fuck. This is insane.
Hyun La out front for us
I'm losing my mind. I don't know what it is. Project 25. Oh, he's fucking praying.
You are looking at secretly recorded
Evil
video
demon
of Russell Vought, a former cabinet member in the Trump administration.
This year has been predominantly now getting ready for a year 5 of a Trump administration. We've got about 350 different documents that are regulations and things of that nature.
Vought, the platform policy director for the Republican National Committee, says he is building the plan for Trump's second term.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's Project 25.
Trump publicly disavowed Project 2025.
No, technically he said Project 25, so you can't actually get him for that.
A conservative blueprint for his administration if he gets reelected. But in private, Vought said that's just politics. The details of the real plans are secret and based on Trump's own beliefs.
Notwithstanding, I expect you to hear 10 more times from the rally, the president, distancing himself from the left's boogeyman of Project 2025.
Yeah.
Project 25.
And you're not worried about that?
I'm not worried about it. And so I see what he's doing is just very, very conscious distancing himself from a brand.
It's a toxic political point, but he shouldn't be able to outrun it.
Support of what we do, and know that we have all manner of things that we do that's, even unrelated to Project 2025.
Sure.
Vought has been a mastermind behind expanding the powers of the presidency. Some of those policy proposals Trump has supported, 2 sources tell CNN. Trump even hosted a Mar-a-Lago fundraiser 2 years ago for the group Vought founded, the right-wing Center for Renewing America.
He's been at our organization. He's raised money for our organization. He's blessed it.
In this hotel suite, Vought thinks he's talking to family members of a wealthy donor. But one is a journalist,
That's awesome.
The other an actor, working undercover for the UK-based Center for Climate Reporting.
Based.
The center provided the video to CNN on the condition we blur their faces so they can continue their undercover work. The conversation covers a host of issues, like abortion and how his position differs from Trump.
He talks about rape, incest, and life of mother. I don't actually believe in those exceptions.
Oh my fucking god. I mean, this is where the fucking sausage gets made, chat. This is where Republican policy gets advanced. In back rooms, in fucking backroom deals with donors and donors' families, talking to policy writers. Brown sausage.
I want to get to abolition, but we got to win elections. And so I want to get as far as we possibly can.
His view of who should be an American.
So I want to make sure that we can say we're a Christian nation, and my viewpoint is mostly that I would probably be Christian nationism.
Oh my god. This is sick, man. No, this is awesome.
That's pretty close to Christian nationalism. Can we, if we're going to have legal immigration, can we get
pretty
people
close.
that actually believe in Christianity? Is that something, or do we have to have, are we not allowed to ask questions about Sharia law?
What could we see America looking like, I guess?
I mean,
in an ideal world.
In an ideal world, I think we could save the country in a sense of.
He just wants a white ethno state, white Christian ethno state.
The largest deportation in history.
And even pornography.
We'd have a national ban on pornography if we could, right?
But the most striking of Vogt's statements has to do with presidential power.
George Floyd obviously was not about race.
Hello?
It was about destabilizing the Trump administration.
Oh my God, this guy's
I find
crazy.
it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which ending are the best I've ever had.
It's the left's belief that structures in society are the problem. Pulling society down for purposes of revolution is exactly what they want. And what you're seeing in college campuses is a part of that as well. The president has the ability both along the border and elsewhere to maintain law and order with the military.
A major part of Vogt's plan is turning thousands of career federal jobs into political appointments, meaning workers could be fired if they're not sufficiently loyal to Trump.
80% of my time is working on the plans of what's necessary to take control of these bureaucracies. I want to be the person that crushes the deep state. I think there's a lot of different ways to do that. It is defunding it, it's impoundment, the ability to not spend money, it's getting rid of their independence.
Even as Vogt talks about the so-called deep state, he claims his group is forming its own to take over on day one.
We are trying to create a shadow Office of Management and Budget, a shadow National Security Council, and a shadow Office of Legal Counsel. These are the main organs in government that you need outside to create the battle plan.
And you're not going to publish those?
No.
They go straight to...
Yeah, they're very, very close hold.
How do you just say you want to make a shadow government? I want to destroy the deep state. And by that I mean I want to become the deep state.
Wow, Kyung. Have Vogt or Donald Trump responded to all that was said on this
I like
video?
that.
Well, we are, Sarah, beginning to hear from both the Trump campaign and Russell Vogt's.
He's just going to say, I don't know what this is. I've never heard of him. He's gay.
Organization in response to this video. A spokesperson for Vogt's group is downplaying the video, saying Vogt has spoken about these same topics publicly, telling CNN in a statement,
it's not
quote,
even a secret.
"Thank you for airing our perfect conversation, emphasizing our policy work is totally separate from the Trump campaign." And the Trump campaign tells us only President Trump and the campaign represent policies for the second term. Sarah?
Okay, man. Do you want to say that you like disagree with any of that shit though? Speaking of mass deportations, which is what that guy was advocating for, let's hear him on that. Let's hear Vance on
Vice
that.
Presidential candidate J.D. Vance outlining the Trump campaign's proposal on border policy.
Oh, why is he so?
Well, the first thing you have
60
to do is
FPS
stop
smoothing.
the bleeding, stop the open
Creepy.
border, get Kamala Harris out of there, and actually re-implement the Remain in Mexico policy, rebuild or finish Donald Trump's border wall.
Vance on ABC's This Week responding to his past comments, saying parents should have more of a vote at the ballot box. Vance insists it was a thought experiment and accusing the Harris campaign of twisting his words.
They have turned this into a policy proposal that I never made. And I do think, look, when you're a parent and you have children, you obviously have a different perspective. And I said that too, and I certainly believe that.
Vice President Kamala Harris in San Francisco for
Deserved.
fundraiser with former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi today. She was in Las Vegas Saturday with running mate Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the final stop of a battleground state blitz. Harris appearing to follow Trump's lead, proposing to eliminate taxes on tips, hours after the powerful culinary union endorsed her.
When I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America. Including to raise the minimum wage and eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Trump responding, she copied my no taxes on tips policy. Harris also dodging tough questions
We're on
about the administration's involvement.
She copied me. She copied me. I'm pissed. She copied me. It's not allowed. Why is it only in my left ear? Sorry.
Don't be rude.
Why can't I find Black MAGA?
R2-D2, you found a cigarette.
Are they censoring him?
He couldn't have been too impressed with our capital. It looks like shit.